Welcome to live chat. What's going on, guys? I am just testing going live because I haven't done going live very much, and I don't even know if this is working. Let's see here. Let's go home, go lives, see what we got. Okay, so I got no picture going on here. What the actual F is going on? Let's see if I can get no picture going on here. Video input. Okay. Yes. Close. All right. Let's see if I can get a picture now. All right. So it looks like I have a picture now. I've finally figured out how to do vertical, and I'm also doing horizontal live. And today, basically, I want to talk about what's going on overall in the automotive sector, mainly what's going on in Canada, but also we all know the Prime Minister is over in Asia discussing, negotiating with Xi Jinping about potential Chinese EVs potentially coming here. And that all falls into what's going on with our farmers and soya beans and everything. So I want to thank you for joining me on this live session. And yeah, as I'm learning about this whole business about going live, doing both vertical and horizontal live, and that's basically where we're at right now. So essentially, I did a video. I don't know if you guys basically watched it or whatnot, but I did a video basically detailing what's going on in the automotive industry right now in Canada and in relation with the U.S. tariffs and such. Everybody's been speaking about how tariffs are bad for business, and yeah, we're seeing what's going on right now, and Canada's losing many automotive jobs. And basically, my point of view in relations to that, and you'll see it in the video, is we are heavily subsidizing our auto sector as it is. And ooh, I just hit my camera there. And basically, the fact that we're telling ourselves that, we can fight this, we don't really have many cards to play when it comes to the US taking back their automotive jobs. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we export 90% of the vehicles we produce here. If it was much closer to like 50%, maybe we'd have an argument, something to stand on. And with these tariffs, they will eventually all fall like they're doing now. We see GM closing plants. We see Stellantis blatantly saying they're moving production to the United States. And this is not where I'm going to bash the United States for implementing. They're doing what they think is best for their country. And I can understand that. Whether the US can actually produce that many automotive jobs and fill them at the same time, that's kind of we know what happened with was it Hyundai? One day where they had brought in a bunch of Korean workers, basically skilled workers and such. It's just I don't know how feasible it is to bring all these manufactured jobs in the U.S. I don't know if financially, with the wages and everything, how that's going to result. We know that higher car prices or vehicle prices is coming up. That's I mean, that's not something we can deny anymore, I don't think. They can only sustain or pay for those tariffs for so long, and eventually it's going to be passed on to the consumer. So, what I would say is, and I do detail that in the video I've mentioned, is because we do heavily subsidize our auto manufacturing department in the tune of, you know, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. And is it gonna pay off in the end? What's keeping them from leaving? Because we're implementing tariffs right now. What we've done, what the government has currently done in response to that is cut the tariff free imports from Stellantis by 50% and General Motors by 24.2%. Yeah, 24.2%. The problem I have with this is one, they never disclose what the numbers were at 100%. So they said, okay, you know what, you have this many tariff free imports that you can bring, but they never disclose anywhere. Nowhere can I find that. Nowhere can AI find that in research and stuff like that. So there's literally nowhere that says uh 300,000 or 150,000 for Stellantis is your number that you can import tariff free. So when they say we're cutting down their tariff free imports by 50%, only the government knows what that is, and obviously probably Stellantis as well. But what if that number was originally 300,000? And now they're cutting it by 50%. It is 150,000. Well, at the best, last year they imported 130,000 imports. So really, this 50% cut means nothing. And I think that auto workers would like to know, like, it's great that we're retaliating, but are we actually retaliating into something? Is something actually occurring here, or are we just blowing smoke? Are we just talking shit, essentially? That's what I want to know. Because nowhere, and it's really hard that usually there's a certain cap and numbers and stuff like that that has to do with that. And usually they say, okay, yep, they can import 200,000 tariff free, no problem. And so I, it's hard for me to judge that response from Canada to cut the tariff free amount by 50% on Stellantis and 24.2% on General Motors when really there's no number figure attached to that and none that's disclosed. So nobody knows except for, the government and Stellantis, and nobody is speaking out. So it doesn't give me a warm and fuzzy feeling. I'm not saying I have a big distrust for the government. That's not what this is about. But I'm definitely saying that it just seems sketchy that we're playing by these kind of rules and that we're not disclosing numbers. That's all I'm saying. But overall, I think that it's very sad what's going on with everybody losing their jobs and losing their jobs in automotive sectors in Canada, and that even in the U.S. I think we saw General Motors now just cut I think 1,300 jobs or 1,600 jobs in Michigan, I believe. So it's very grim what is the forecast for this, and the fact that they're all in Asia right now discussing potentially Canada could see tariffs either lifted entirely or cut down on Chinese EVs or Chinese manufacturers. So we know that that's a possibility. There's a lot of pressure because protecting our automotive sector essentially accounts for 1% of our GDP. Yeah, there's always the plus plus figure, but when we're looking at what happened to Australia when they forgoed or stopped subsidizing their auto manufacturing or auto sector, they lost it all, which I think is what's happening here in Canada as well. They lost it all, and essentially they were just fine in the end. They opened up free trade across the board. They opened up everything, and it basically worked out for everybody. They had cheaper vehicles. If you buy a Tesla Model Y in Australia, you're paying $10,000 less than you are here in Canada right now. And that is strictly because of opening and loosening tariffs and just saying, okay, yeah, you know what? We're no longer making vehicles here in Australia. Boom, we are moving on. And no more tariffs on anybody. Anybody can move in and try sell their cars, and that just brought in a, you know, not a trade war, but a price war, and that lowered the price for a lot of people. And I think if we ask people like how um, would you mind saving an extra $10,000 on a car? And would you like it? I think the majority of people are starting to move more in favor. Surely, farmers, soybeans farmers, are definitely moving in favor of removing tariffs on China for their EVs or their. Well, they don't sell EVs. They sell EVs. They sell hybrid. They sell all kinds of vehicles, and just bringing those in. Surely, that's something they're in favor as well. So I just, you know what? I just don't see how the prime minister can essentially walk out of that meeting and not even think about it. So there's definitely a thought there, and we definitely want our farmers to move on. And yeah, the automotive sector, I feel bad for it. It is 1% of our GDP, and there's a multiplier effect. I get that. But in Australia, when they lost a lot of jobs, one, it didn't cripple their economy nearly as much as they thought it would, and 82% of the people that lost jobs ended up finding employment in the end. That was in 2017, so I'm not talking about the 1900s here. We're talking about 2017 when Australia got that. It just seems like it's it seems like it's not something that we can win right now, right? Uh, we export 90% of the vehicles we make here in Canada, and the Americans are going to take those jobs back if they really want to, and they're doing it. It's what they think is best for their country, and I'm not even criticizing that at all. I'm just saying that there's a way to move forward, and it doesn't really have to do with keeping our current automotive sector the way it currently is for manufacturing, anyways. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Definitely comment below what you guys think. How are we doing right now with the fact that lots of automotive jobs are being, well, shit can on both sides of the border? Does this spell for a recession coming up? Does it mean car prices are finally going to come crashing down because they've only been trending upwards? Should we definitely allow Chinese EVs to come to North America and especially Canada, since right now there's that summit in China happening? Definitely chime in into the comment section. I definitely want to hear what your thoughts are because personally, well, I mean, you're watching me, so I'm going to tell you what my opinion is on the matter. Is yeah, I think they should forego these tariffs right now on Chinese. Maybe not entirely, but just enough to bring down prices of vehicles right now. If you're looking at price of vehicle, it's freaking insane. Right? It's insane. I reviewed them. I see the price tags on all the vehicles I review. I review a different vehicle every week, and even then, it's got to be hard to swallow. And my wife is actually shopping for a new vehicle right now, and I'm assisting her in this process. And she has the same budget that she originally had when she bought her car in 2017. Well, that doesn't work anymore. It just does not. Even brands like Hyundai, they've increases their prices since that time by at least like 30%. It's just not gonna work anymore, and it's just something is going to give. They're starting to fire people on both sides of the border at this point, and whether it's tariff related or not, whether you think those tariffs are justified or not, I think the way for consumers to benefit is just have a completely free market, because the fact that the Chinese are subsidizing their auto market, I got news for you. We're heavily subsidizing our auto sector at all, like completely. Look at the Stellantis plant that got closed in Ontario. They had just done was it $1 billion subsidy in there, $1 billion that they've given to those people, and doesn't prevent them from leaving. They're still gonna leave whenever they want. Those jobs are still gonna get, you know, to go down the toilet. And what ends up happening is, they're going to try to take him to court and recoup some of that money. That's going to be in court for years and years and years. They have so much good, better lawyers and stuff. and the GM plant for retooling that plant for making those bright drop vans. That was something like, what was it, 750 million, I believe, that was paid by the government for that. It's not happening. I don't think it's happening anyways. And that's basically, essentially, that's where I'm sitting at for the for that. Let me see here. And yeah, I'm trying to see here in the comments section. I don't really have anything, so yeah. Um, so essentially, also want to talk about what my journey has been like as far as reviewing cars. It's been 2 years essentially that I've been reviewing cars, and I want to thank also my first member to join the Outsider Club in the community. So I actually have one. I think his name is Jared. Jared, if you're there, I thank you a lot. I appreciate you being a member. No, Ed Star. Sorry, Ed Star, and joined 5 days ago. Thank you for joining, and I'd like you to comment below what you'd like to see from Outsider Reviews for membership. What we'd like to do is I'd definitely like to have some people more people here on live and definitely talk about everything that has to do with the automotive sector. It'd be pretty cool to do and just get the viewers to be live with me on screen. Uh, Basically, I'm starting to ramp things up a little bit. Some weeks I've done two vehicles, some weeks and I'm starting to express myself a little bit more when I'm doing these car reviews and stuff. So definitely I'm diving a little bit deeper in automotive sector research and everything. So it's definitely been a lot of fun. Definitely a switch from my military career, um, which I can no longer do physically. I just no longer meet the service requirements to be in the military. So that's why I am here doing YouTube channels and just want to get you guys the outsider perspective. And when you're not growing up to be a journalist, when you're not rubbing elbows too much with the manufacturers, when you're not, when you take the script they give you and you just toss it and you say, I just want to review this freaking car, what you guys have in front of me, and essentially, that's what I'm going for because I got tired of watching people on YouTube and just make up excuses for certain manufacturers. I mean, I remember seeing, what was it, TFL and Truck King both had the Tacoma transmission. No, one was a transmission issue, and the other one had to do with the 4x4, like losing 4x4 capability, and then just regurgitating um, the letter that Toyota gave them, knowing very well that that year that vehicle was very, very problematic. So my goal here at Outsider Reviews is essentially just call manufacturers out on bullshit, and if that means that I have to limit the amount of vehicle I review because of access, then so be it. If you have any questions about what it's like to start a automotive reviewing channel or journey, just hit me up. My email is linked to the channel. You can always send me via emails. You can also add me to Instagram. I reply to messages mainly because, well, I don't get that many. I'm a pretty small channel, and I just like to say what it is about the vehicle. I don't want to read the press release to you guys when I review the vehicles. I like to tell you what it has been like. And I don't really care about if I'm touching fabric on the vehicle and I'm like, oh, this is rich mahogany wood. I don't give a shit. I really don't. And I don't use a journalist jargon because I don't really have that in me. I'm kind of straightforward, just the infantry way. And that's the way I kind of attack to the automotive sector. Because when I was, you know, press releases and all that stuff, media, when they tell you it's like, all right, so Canada, for example, is retaliating with the U.S. tariffs with the Stellantis plant closure and the GM plant closures, even though not plant closures, they're just not using them. Uh, and then they're saying you're going to implement 50% tariff on Stellantis for tariff-free imports and 24.2% on GM, and then that's what they report. But when you actually dig in and you're like, okay, but what's these numbers? How are these numbers decreasing? What was the original number? It's nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. And the government of Canada has not disclosed any of those numbers. So really, it could be a number so high that these two companies are never going to feel the effects of these tariff-free reductions. And it's just being politicians, just blowing smoke and just telling people what they want to hear, as long as they don't ask questions like, well, okay, so how many vehicles can they import tariff free? Nobody knows. Like Nate Benghazi, what's that comedian? His name. He says in those skits when they're asking him like, how many feet in a mile? And he says nobody knows. It's kind of like that same thing. How many vehicles can GM and Stellantis now import tariff free? Nobody knows except for these two companies. I'm sure they know, but nobody's disclosing that, and I think that's a big problem. I I think it just seems like it's sketchy, right? Doesn't it seem like it's sketchy to you guys? You guys let me know in the comments section if you're watching. Let me know what you're seeing as I'm looking here. And the next thing I've talked about Chinese vehicles coming to Canada with the Asia summit going on here with the prime ministers, the president, and Xi Jinping from China being there. Is that a possibility? I think they're going to be too afraid to ruffle some feathers over there to just blatantly say, okay, you know what, we're foregoing Chinese tariffs and Chinese vehicles can now come to Canada with no tariff. I don't think that's going to happen. Personally, living here in Canada and listening to what the politics of it and if it is, I think everybody's just too damn polite to do it. If it was me, would I say do it? I'm like, yeah, you goddamn right, I would. Because mainly because I think that we have no way of winning this fight. I don't think we do. It's not a fight you can win. I don't know. You guys let me know. Comment below in the comment section. I want to know if you guys think that um, Chinese vehicles are going to make their way to Canada because of all the tensions that are going on here. I personally don't think they are. I think everybody's just too damn polite for that to happen. Would the consumers benefit from that? Absolutely, they would. Am I allowed to say that in life? I don't know. But I think absolutely they would. And I think it's something we should definitely aggressively pursue. Otherwise, we don't have a leg to stand on. The Canadian government does not have a leg to stand on in negotiation. We export 90% of the vehicles that we make here. It's just the only reason why they were doing that here, they were building in Canada, is because the Canadian dollar is so low compared to US dollars that when you do that, you pay labor, it costs you a lot less money in a global sense than paying American labor with UAE. So yeah, you can bring all the manufacturers back to the United States, but that's probably going to mean that prices are going to go up. So kind of damn if you do, damn if you don't here. Bring all the manufacturer back locally. Cool. But the price of things are going to go up. That's just my 2 cents on this Canadian automotive crisis going on. And yeah, that's basically all I have. And I'd like to thank the few people that made it to the live, made it to watch my live stream. I appreciate you guys. And don't forget to check out some of these videos I've released, and especially the one about the Canadian automotives. Check out my vehicle reviews. And I'll catch you guys in the next live stream.